Can Robert Kraft be put on the commissioner's exempt list?
Well, the commissioner's exempt list, it's a great question, Dan. It's only available for certain types of violations of the personal conduct policy, and they are all premised on some act of violence. And that's the way the personal conduct policy was written. That's the way it was revised back in 2014 after Ray Rice, Greg Hardy, Adrian Peterson, when the NFL realized there are certain situations where innocent until proven guilty goes out the window. We have to take these guys off the field, even though they're being paid. We don't want these guys out there where people see them, where broadcasters talk about them, so they go on the commissioner exempt list. But it's all based upon some sort of crime, some sort of allegation of violence, of sexual assault, of something where there is a victim who has been violated in some way. And the commissioner doesn't have that power for any other type of violation. He wouldn't have that power, even if it would apply to an owner, and I think it only applies to players, but even if it would apply to an owner, that power to be placed on the commissioner exempt list wouldn't apply based upon the charges that Robert Kraft is facing.
If you were one of Robert Kraft's lawyers, what would you be looking at now to help your client have these charges dropped?
Well, there's an issue with the court order that allowed the video surveillance in that spa. I just wrote something about this in the last hour at PFT. Apparently, the search warrant application asked for permission to monitor and record in those massage rooms, and the court order only says monitor, not record. That's a technicality, but you know what? If they violated the extent of the court order that was available for these activities, that's the kind of thing that becomes a problem. The traffic stop, which was a clear pretext to get Robert Kraft's identification when he left that spa the first time. Yeah. If that traffic stop has any flaw to it, that gets thrown out. You can't identify Robert Kraft on the video. Case goes away that way. And really, the fundamental thing is this, Dan, without getting into a full continuing legal education seminar here, solicitation of prostitution requires evidence that there was advanced solicitation. That's why typically a guy gets busted when there's an undercover officer who is there to hear him say, I will give you money for sex. There's no evidence like that here. I don't know how you prove the basic element of solicitation just based upon a video of what happened. You need to have some sort of audio or someone who can testify that the person who's accused of this made that promise of money for sex before anything happened.
Yeah, I guess the big question I have, and certainly if I'm Robert Kraft, I'm not going to jail. I can pay a fine, and maybe I can get this expunged from my record. This is all about that video, Mike. Whether he's guilty or not, that video of surfacing would be what I would have sleepless nights if I'm Robert Kraft. Is there any way to keep that video from being released publicly?
Well, they're going to try their damnedest to do it, and that's where a court order would get involved to permanently seal the records. And then if somebody from law enforcement would leak it, they'd be facing serious personal criminal penalties if it would be proven that they did. This is far different from a security guard at a hotel that went out of business selling the Ray Rice elevator video to TMZ. If the court says this shall never be released, then I think that gives it an extra layer of protection. So the other concern is this too, Dan. If he pleads guilty to anything, then he walks right into a suspension. And the question that I keep coming back to, if he's fully exonerated for this, right, if it's thrown out, if it's dismissed, if there's never any violation, if there's no diversion program, guilty plea, no contest, anything, what does the commissioner do? Because if it was a player under these allegations, I don't think the commissioner would do anything. If you get no sanction of any kind, if you just walk away with a dismissal or an acquittal at trial. But since it's an owner, we hear all the time, they're held to a higher standard. Well, if a player would be securing a dismissal subject to nothing, what does an owner get subjected to if he ends up securing a full dismissal or a full exoneration? That's going to be the real question for the commissioner when the dust settles on this if Kraft wins it.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.